Reasons none wants to work? It should say no one, huh? Oh god, who made this again? This is by the Cancer. Okay, who even knows if they're an actual publication? Alright, whatever. As 2021 came to a close, job openings soared to 20 million. On the other hand, quit rates hit record highs. This marked the onset of the Great Resignation and a tight labor market. The shift had been brewing for years, with baby boomers and millennials fueling job supply. From the capitalist society working in favor of the employer to minimum wages, a variety of factors influenced the reasons for not wanting to work anymore. To earn the absolute bare minimum, many jobs offer low pay, barely covering basic needs, which makes the idea of working less appealing for many individuals. Despite putting in long hours, the financial reward does not seem worth the effort. With limited opportunities for financial advancement and recognition of their contributions, individuals are suffering from a lack of motivation to join or retain employment. This is like the big argument that I hear a lot of bosses, managers say. You know, people who own small businesses, that no one wants to work. They do want to work, but they don't want to work for low wages. Everything's so expensive. No one wants to do a job that can't cover their basic needs. And it sucks because it makes a divide, right? It makes certain companies and employers get mad at employees and people who don't want to work, when the real problem is the inflation caused by our government. You know, the politicians we keep electing who have to return the favors of the corporate donors before they get to the people, if they get to the people. And this isn't right, left, or whatever. They both do this. Both Republicans and Democrats do this. The bureaucrats like Jerome Powell, who just turned on the money printer, which caused inflation to go crazy, absolutely crazy. Our governments who locked down everything during COVID. And yet, those elite people, those politicians, the elitists, the top 1%, whatever you want to call them, they suffered no consequences. The only people who are suffering consequences are you and I and everyone else who has to work, earn a living, pay a mortgage, struggle to buy groceries. But I digress. This is the problem, right? People do want to work, although the title says no one wants to work anymore. They do, but they want the right pay. To be able to afford to, what's the point of working if you can't afford your rent? If you can't afford the gas in your car? Can't afford food. Why even show up to that job when people are going to be looking for the right job? Entry-level work requires experience. Some job postings labeled as entry-level demand extensive experience or qualifications. This leaves many individuals feeling undervalued and discouraged. The discrepancy between job requirements and compensation undermines the incentive for workers to pursue employment opportunities. It is contributing to the reluctance of individuals to enter or remain in the workforce. I mean, it's kind of oxymoron, right? Entry-level, but they want you to have experience. And who struggles with this the most? People who just got out of school, right? Whether high school or college, but they don't have experience in that field. And they're trying to keep up with their bills, so they keep doing a job that, doesn't align with the college degree they have until they find a job that aligns with the college degree that they earned. Now, I've said this before. This was many years ago, so it worked for me. Maybe it doesn't work. Maybe it does. Maybe it's helpful if you want to hear me out, but I say take like 3-4 months to just take an internship. I mean, basically, work for free just because you're there to learn. You're not there to earn yet. And I know people freak out like my time is more valuable, but yet you have zero problem paying thousands of dollars for a college that doesn't guarantee you a job, or you're in debt. You have no problem getting in debt, but when it comes to learning hands-on experience, you're not getting paid for it. You go, oh no, I can't do it. It worked for me, so the company knew who I was, and they eventually offered me a job. But even if they didn't offer me a job, they at least offered me a reference, so when I applied for a job, I had a reference, and they would say something great about me. The only reason why I got to that level where I was like, I'm going to work for free, it was really only 3 months, is because I got so sick and tired that I was trying to get into a job with my college degree, and I couldn't get into one. So I was like, screw it, I'm going to work my typical job, and then my 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. and weekends, I'm going to work for free for someone else, as an intern, right? But I'm learning. And then they eventually liked me and they had a position open. And of course, yeah, there's luck that plays into it, but use that to your advantage. Still put it on your resume. Lack of work-life balance. Work-life balance wasn't and still isn't generally a concern for many employers. Employees often find themselves sacrificing their time and well-being for the sake of work. With little regard for their life outside of the job, this imbalance leads to burnout, strained relationships, and overall dissatisfaction. Without a sense of harmony between personal life and work, many individuals are left feeling overwhelmed and distressed. No one hates this term, work-life balance, more than boomers in corporate America. Yeah, I mean, I get that times have changed. Like, I get it. You know, there's just, people are demanding, hey, I want a better work-life balance. I don't want to commit so many hours to a job and then have little to commit to my family, little to commit to me, little to commit life experiences, because my whole life is being spent on for someone else. Jobs not matching the expectations. Oh, there's a little bit more here. Candidates are eager to work, but they want jobs that align with their expectations and values. Today's job seekers are not simply seeking payment, they are looking for roles that offer fulfillment and purpose. In the wake of the pandemic, there has been a profound shift in employee priorities. Workers are placing more emphasis on meaningful work and their holistic well-being. Employers who fail to provide environments that foster personal growth and autonomy are losing out on top talents. Without these qualities, individuals are reluctant to commit to roles that are in line with their expectations and aspirations. You know who can ask for this? Who can ask for these expectations? People who are highly skilled at something. Who are like the top subject matter experts, who are the top salesperson, the top engineer, the top insert this position. If they are the top talent that's always producing and being a huge valuable asset that cannot be replaced, yeah, they can ask for that. Absolutely. Or they go to another company who will. And it's up to the employer to be like, no, we can't lose this person by all means. They are the backbone to our success. But most of us, we're just regular, right? And we're not in a position to ask for these expectations. All it is that you agreed to this position to do this job, and that's it. You can't ask for any more. You want free candy on your lunch breaks. No, that's not happening. Coffee is for closers. So if you're a mediocre employee, you can't expect good expectations. But if you're a top person, yeah, you should be making those demands. And if you're not getting them, you're not getting those expectations, find someone who will meet those expectations. Because people who are at the top of the game, they don't have a problem with employment at all. Toxic work environments. Beyond the mistreatment of minimum wage workers, toxic work cultures create a deeper issue. Many workplaces breed hostility and disrespect, which manages the employees' mental health. Managers often wield authority callously, resorting to intimidation and verbal abuse. Customer-facing staff endure verbal assaults from disgruntled patrons. This negativity leaves workers demoralized, prompting many to leave. In such environments, personal dignity is sacrificed for profits, fostering an unsustainable workplace culture. Yeah, you get mistreated not just by your boss, but if you work with having to deal with customers, you get disrespected by customers too. And those jobs suck. And nothing should motivate you more to figure out, how do I get out of this job and find a better job? Do I need to find a better skill? Do I need to go to school? What is it that I need to do to not work in an environment like this and find something better? High turnover rate jobs, what can you really do to keep people there? Clearly you're not going to pay them more because they're high turnover rate. For the most part, they're easy jobs to replace someone with. So there's no real reason to pay someone more. And what can you do? Incentives, give them free snacks on lunch or something, or pizza every other Friday? No, it's not going to happen. It's not going to work. People's dignities, they can't take it anymore. They can't take so much negativity. My boss is yelling at me, customers are yelling at me. F this job. I'm leaving. That's why when you go to a store and you see these young kids who just straight don't care about their jobs, yeah, because they get yelled at all day from both ways, right? So I get it. Sometimes when I'm at like a store at the mall, I'm just like, yeah, this kid probably gets yelled at all the time. I can't get mad because I've been there too, and I hated those jobs too. And it makes sense why there's a lot of malls and stores closing. Everyone's buying off Amazon because you don't have to deal with the customer representative who doesn't care about the job, and that person doesn't care about the job because they get yelled at all the time. So it goes both ways. No personal growth. Employees seek growth opportunities, yet many workplaces fail to provide them. Without chances to learn, tackle challenges, or receive feedback, individuals feel stagnant. This stagnation dampens the morale of individuals and also stifles innovation. Employers focusing on employee development benefit from a more engaged workforce. By fostering continuous learning, organizations retain talent and foster a culture of achievement. So there's two things going on here. One is that a lot, especially if you work in corporate life, you're going to get what's called carrot sticked. Where they're going to tell you there's so much opportunity, so much growth, this and that. All they're doing is just banking on your hope. And they know that out of a sea of people, just a handful of them are going to get promoted. And the rest won't. The rest are there hoping they'll get promoted, hoping they'll go up the corporate ladder, but they don't. And more people are catching on to this. One, by experience, going, dude, I have yet to move up in this company. I've been here for years. And this guy, because it's the boss's friend's swarthy girlfriend's son got promoted over me and they just started 2 weeks ago. This is crap. There's only personal growth that you can control. How can I learn more? What skills can I develop better? What can I do with the experience I'm getting at this job, learn a new skill, and look for employment somewhere else where I can get paid more? Or maybe start my own business. Now that I got the skills from this job, I can just work by myself doing it for myself and grow that way. And for those of you who've been promoted at your job, consider yourself very lucky. And you probably got promoted for the right reasons. Don't get me wrong, okay? It's just, we all know that even my position where I've been promoted a few times, I know that I'm lucky. I know that it wasn't easy. Sure, it wasn't easy. But at the same time, it's just right place, right time type of situation. Ridiculous, unlivable wages. Even in areas with higher minimum wages, like California, the soaring cost of living makes it challenging for workers to make ends meet. Despite efforts to increase wages, many find themselves struggling to afford basic necessities. This includes housing, food, as well as healthcare. This aligns with like an earlier one that they had. I think like the very first one, right? But to add on to this point, a lot of these lower wage jobs, if it's not going to regular people, if it's not going to, high school, college kids, the only people that's left over to take them are going to be migrants. And then before you know it, it's going to be the illegal migrants who take the jobs. And then before you know it, you're going to be all frustrated because they can't speak English, they shouldn't be here. It's just everything else that frustrates you about immigration, right? So, but what can you do? Honestly, it's just, this is the system we work in. I know it's the problem, but I don't have a solution. If you know a solution, please leave a comment. I would like to know. Tired of poor treatment. While low pay is a significant deterrent to work, poor treatment from employers also plays a vital role in driving individuals away from the traditional environment. Workers are increasingly fed up with the unreasonable expectations, lack of support, and unfair treatment in the workplace. Managers often disregard employees' well-being, expecting them to cover shift, win suck, and subjecting them to unpredictable work schedules. This lack of respect and empathy creates a hostile work environment. It leads to workers seeking alternatives. This is also like the previous bullet point about toxic work environment, right? But it also should be a motivator of like, okay, this is not the job I want. How do I get out of this situation? And again, I'm repeating myself, I know. Like, do I need to educate myself more, pick up more skills, and go somewhere else, or just start my own business because I developed these skills? But you don't have to be there. You have the right to leave a job. I know it's easier said than done because people watching this video like, dude, I still have bills to pay. Everything's so freaking expensive. And I get that. I understand. But it also should be a motivator of like, how do I do better? How do I do better? Like, how can I develop how do I make more money? Because I can't do this forever. This job sucks. It's taking a toll on my mental health. I can't do it anymore. And I can't just quit. How am I going to pay my bills? So yeah, it should be a motivator to like figure out a way to do something better. Better find a new job. Find a better education. Go to school, whatever it takes. Meaningless work. Today's workforce values meaning and purpose in their work. They are less willing to sacrifice their time and energy for jobs that lack purpose or contribute to the profits of soulless corporations. That is why many young adults are choosing work-life balance and meaningful experience over high-paying jobs that offer little fulfillment. So a few things. One, the meaningless work. I've been there. Which sucks because, like, I was always one of those employees that just got everything done right away. And what did I get rewarded with? More work. And I was getting paid the same as everyone else, but I'm doing more work because I made the decision to get rid of my work because I was hoping I could just chill. No, you don't get to chill. If they have you there for 8 hours, they're going to give you more work. And yeah, I try to, like, skate by or whatnot, but then you kind of learn a habit of, like, okay, let me just be less productive. Just slow down my roll, make sure everything gets done by the 8-hour mark, just like everyone else. So there's a lack of reward for people who are at the top, who do the best. And if an employer can't recognize how to reward properly, they're not worth sticking around for. Also, meaning and purpose. There's not a lot of jobs that will make you feel fulfilled. I'm sorry, but there isn't that many. There's not that many employers where you have a job that makes you feel great. There is quite a bit, don't get me wrong, but most jobs, they're not going to have that. The best way to have something where that's purpose and meaning is to do your own business, do your own job, work for yourself. And that's hard in itself, I know, but it's totally worth it. And this bottom part that, people would rather have a work-life balance versus, a high-paying job that suck, basically. And then we're going back to full circle about, a lot of these jobs don't pay well. Like, what can it be? What can it be? You're not going to find high-paying work-life balance jobs. There's so few of them. So few of them. And then all you're going to be doing is just be complaining about it on TikTok, using TikTok as your own personal therapist, when you need to figure out how to do better. Excessive burnout. Burnout is one of the vital reasons why individuals are deterred from employment. The pressure to constantly perform at peak levels combined with long hours and unrealistic expectations takes a physical and mental toll. Many workers are finding themselves overwhelmed and exhausted with little to no energy for personal pursuits outside of work. The cycle of burnout creates a sense of disengagement, leading individuals to question the value of dedicating to a job that requires the sacrifice of their health and happiness. Burnout just means you're doing something you don't like. That's what it is. An employer will know that, hey, who has a stronger or better burnout tolerance, right? The guy who claims that they burn out at 8 hours of work, or someone who claims they burn out when they hit 10 hours of work. They're going to stick and reward that person, unfortunately. Or find people just like him. People who are passionate about something, who really enjoy what they're doing, they don't really feel burnout. They could be exhausted, sure. They need to rest and sleep. But they're ready to go the next day. And if you feel burnout, like you just don't want to take on tomorrow, that job is just not for you. But again, I know you have to figure out a new job. It's not easy. Getting hired for a new job can take months, maybe years, and like all of that. It sucks. But again, it's just one of these situations where if you're just not happy and you're feeling the burnout, you need to figure out how to get out of this situation and find something better. Controlling leaves and break times. Strict control over leaves and breaks worsen the work atmosphere. Employees feel confined by inflexible rules, limiting their ability to take essential breaks or times off. This lack of freedom erodes trust and autonomy, making workers feel unappreciated. Without chance to recharge, maintaining a healthy work-life balance becomes challenging. Again, with the work-life balance, no employer wants to hear this, but we've all been at jobs where they micromanage the crap out of you, right? They literally want you to clock in and clock out just to take a dump. bad enough you have to clock in and clock out when you take a break or a 30-minute lunch break. But then it's just like they want to make sure and check productivity, and then they want you. Oh God, some of these companies, like I'm just thinking back of some of the ones I worked at, especially call center jobs. Oh my God, like they just want that fine line of like, yes, we understand you're human, but we want you to be a robot. You know, it's just like, oh, those jobs just suck. And I get it, like they don't make you feel like a human being. And those jobs, yeah, they have a high turnover rate, but at the same time, they don't care. They're gonna hire someone else the next day. So don't get trapped in those, or figure out again, how do you get out of this? Capitalism failed them. A growing number of young workers feel disillusioned by the promises of capitalism and the so-called American dream. Despite hard work and education, they face insurmountable debt and stagnant wages. Soaring living costs and dwindling job prospects deepen feelings of insecurity and inequality. Workers face the dilemma of sacrificing much-needed benefits for minimal financial gain. This creates a cycle of dependence and stagnation. This makes me truly sad because I fully believe right now, 2024, where human evolution is, human intelligence is, capitalism is the best form of society on this planet. I'm fully aware it's not perfect. Just like any other isms, right? Any type of society, it can be corrupted, it can be abused. However, it's making more and more people feel like they suck at capitalism because they can't get ahead. So they're looking into socialism as if they could win there. But guess what? You can't win there. And you know what? We keep getting more and more socialist ideologies encroaching into our capitalism society, which is why you feel like you're losing in the first place. We're having all of these laws that makes it harder and harder to achieve the American dream. Like look at education, for example. The government was like, oh, we'll promise all these universities infinite money. We'll guarantee them money as long as you accept these students. And then university was like, we can charge them whatever. All right, we'll do that. Just they accept the students like crazy left and right. And the cost of tuition has skyrocketed. And now these kids are coming out of college with huge debts, mortgage-like debt that they can't pay off. And they're pissed off because their gender studies degree is not paying them that much. And it's a socialist idea to have the government try to assist as much as possible. Yeah, let's get them education. And look what it turned out. And because it's failing, they're blaming capitalism when it was really socialist ideologies that ruined our education system. And now so many people have this debt. It's like, how about we just separate universities from the federal government and we wouldn't have this problem. But because, they intervene themselves, the government, these socialist ideologies, student loan crisis is happening right now. And of course, that's one of many examples, and I can go on a huge tirade about it. But the encroachment of government into our personal lives, to our private matter lives, it's what's causing all these problems. Nothing's free. But the problem is that, socialist ideas and these politicians, people vote for them because they're like, oh, they guarantee us free stuff. Nothing's free. Free is actually expensive. It's so expensive that when you get your paycheck, you see so much money goes to the government because the government's offering all this free stuff. And nothing's getting done. Lack of shared purposes. Apart from tangible benefits like competitive wages and flexibility, employees seek workplaces that align with their values and purpose. Companies that foster a sense of shared purpose and meaning in the work cultivate a more engaged and motivated workforce. Employees are more likely to invest their time and efforts into organizations that prioritize social responsibility and contribute positivity to their communities. It's a lot to ask for an employer to do that. Because you know what the employer is thinking? What if this person quits on me tomorrow? And I just put in all that time, effort, and money invested into this employee who just quit on me the next day. You know how infuriating that is? It's frustrating as hell. So making all these demands of the employee, just no. You're just there to do a job. You agree to this pay. Let's leave it to that. You're the whole trying to make your job feel like home. It's not going to work. Might work for one person, but doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And then people are going to throw all their complaints in, and then we should have more of this. The other person's like, I'm allergic to that. And then you can't please everyone. Just go in, do your job, leave. Collect your check every 2 weeks. Last one, welfare cliffs. Welfare cliffs hinder employment, forcing tough choices between benefits and career advancements. This discourages work and traps workers in dependency. Reform is required to support gradual benefit reduction and empower individuals for improvement without fear of loss. If you don't know what a welfare cliff is, it means that typically you don't have a job, the government's taking care of you. They're providing you with a Section 8 housing, they're giving you food stamps, they're giving you, money for, say, daycare or something. But then the moment you get a job, you lose all those benefits. Maybe you get a part-time job, they'll give you part of those benefits. But if you look at it, like some of those benefits, in order to match that with an actual job, you have to be making a lot of money. Like I'm well, not a whole lot of money, but like depending on where you live, like those benefits could really mean like it's $70,000 or more a year for someone. So someone would need like $70,000 a year to meet what they were having in benefits from the government. Of course, I could be way off. It depends on each state. I know all of this. But there's just some people who just don't have the drive to work. They're okay just living off the government, bare minimum, as long as they don't have to get up in the morning and go work for someone. And it's unfortunate because all these policies and the inflation the government's causing, they're creating more and more people who just don't want to try anymore. And it's sad. And the biggest one who's most impacted by this, and it's not a knock on them, because I hope the best for them, but this traps single mothers the most. Because everything's so freaking expensive when you're a single mom, especially if you're by yourself. Food for kids costs so much more. Clothes, diapers, daycare, like all that is so expensive. And for single moms to find a job to cover daycare and food and everything a kid needs, it could be up in the six figures, more than $100,000 a year. It's like, what job? I mean, if you just take on a job that pays, 3/4 of that, you're like, dude, I might as well just stay unemployed and collect the welfare. Why even get a job? And it keeps them trapped in the system. Like these welfare clips keep people poor because the government just gives you enough just to get by, but you still need to depend on them next month. Because the government can't have you like be independent. They can't cut you one big check and you're off to the races and you're good. Some of it, they just keep you on the system. So that's all of them. Let's see what the comments have to say. Okay, one person says, let's be honest, it isn't that these people aren't working, it's because they have chosen the gig economy over traditional employment. They are working just not for their employers, but for themselves. I mean, it depends on what you're doing for the gig economy. I mean, if you're an Uber driver, you're technically an employee to Uber. Yeah, you might be a contractor and you work whatever hours you want, but you are beholden to them. However, if you're like your own personal contractor doing random gigs, like say you're a videographer and you go do videos at weddings and corporate events or whatever, I mean, it's on your own schedule. And I think that's great. If you can do that, it's awesome. Someone said, I graduated from college in 1979 when inflation was around 10% and interest rates were around 12%. Every concerning issue described in this article were worse then. I felt overqualified, undervalued, overworked, and treated poorly by supervisors. Need I continue? People felt and were exactly the same then as now, except it was not okay to be a bum, and it is now. Everyone is a victim and has a BS line to excuse their sloth. I found the boomer, by the way. The one takeaway I want to take from this is that if things aren't changing, instead of ridiculing people, ridiculing the young, putting yourself in like, I had it worse, it should be, how do we make things better so we don't have to do this? We need to learn from our experiences, not repeat history. What is there to work for? People barely want to stay alive in this bloated dystopian nightmare. The government and corporations have seized too much power. There's nothing in it for anyone else. And I believe that. I think the big thing is that the money needs to come out of politics, but how are you going to make that happen though? Because that's the one big problem that we have, is that there's too much corporate influence in our government. Like I said earlier, politicians, they have to return the favors of the corporations who got them in office before they get to the people. Even if they do, if they can. And if they don't, they just blame the other party like they always do. And what bothers me about that, because, they're just bought out, our politicians are bought out, that it makes capitalism look bad. And again, like I said, capitalism is not perfect, but we go to the road of socialism, we're truly screwed. No one wins at all. If you're having a hard time winning in capitalism, you're not going to win at all in socialism. I'm sorry, it's not a better life. And it's always the people who live in capitalist society want socialism. Yet you can see time and time that there's socialist societies in places like China where people are protesting, asking a more capitalist society. They want more freedom. So it's just crazy to me that, like, if you live here in the United States and you want socialism, just move. Go find your socialist utopia and report back and tell us how great it is. I think that's about it. This is a long video, longer than I anticipated. So if you made it this far, I believe I deserve a subscribe. Please leave a like. Comment below. I do read them. Very curious of what you have to say about this too. And other than that, until next time, bye.